Okay, for topic 4, we're going to look at finding present value. So we kind of officially switch over from calling P principal to calling it present value. So think of present value as how much you have today compared to how much you would have at some point down the road. Okay, so the present value P for future value of $A at a simple interest rate of R for T years is given by this formula. So like I told you in the last two videos, if you're in my face-to-face class, I print you a formula sheet, you have it. If you're in an online class, I post the formula sheet. If you don't have printing capabilities, you can certainly visit me on campus and I can give you a printed copy. If you don't feel like doing that, you can just keep a sheet of formulas, but you definitely want to have like one sheet with all your formulas listed out so that you're not flipping back and forth when you work on your homework, okay? Now, what's interesting and very, very important for you to understand, when you're calculating present value, you always have to round up. No matter what the answer is, we throw out all of the rounding rules and we always round up to the next cent or to the next dollar, depending on the situation. So I'm going to put a big old note here. I'm going to do it in red because red's real flashy. So we always round up for P. The issue is if you mathematically round and the mathematical rules say round down, then when you take that value for P and you reverse the formula and you figure out your present value, you'll be like a couple of cents short of your goal. Okay. Now, sometimes you're a fraction of a cent short of your goal. Sometimes you're several cents short of your goal. It just kind of depends on the situation. But we always round up for P to make sure that we have at least our future goal, if not more. Okay. So always round up for P and just read directions really carefully to make sure you understand that you're calculating P, and just remember round up for P, round up for P, round up for P. Luckily, we're going to see P in section 8.3, obviously, 8.4, and again in 8.5. So you'll have a chance to practice this. Okay. So this formula is a little bit nastier because it looks like a fraction, but I'll show you if you have the graphing calculator, I'll show you how you can type it in as a fraction where it's a little bit easier to type in. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So the formula for P is P equals A, the future value, divided by 1 plus RT. Okay, so we've basically taken this formula up here for future value, and we've divided both sides by the stuff multiplied by P. So we divided both sides by 1 plus RT, which got us P by itself. So P equals A divided by 1 plus RT. All right, so let's look at examples. Example 4 says solve each simple interest problem. And for part A, it says how much should you, oh, I read it. I was reading it wrong. How much should you put in an investment paying a simple interest rate of 5% if you need 4,000 in 6 months? Okay, so we know what A is. A is our future value goal. Our goal is to have $4,000 in 6 months. Okay, our interest rate is 5%. So 0.05. And our time frame is 6 months. So remember, if you're given time in months, convert it to years. So 6 months is the same as 6 over 12, or you could think of it as just a half or 0.5. P, we don't know. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so P equals A, which is 4,000, divided by 1 plus RT, so 0.05 times R, well, that is R, times T, which is 6 over 12, or just a half. Okay. Now, if we go to the calculator, if you have a graphing calculator, this is pretty easy to put in. If you're using like a Desmos test app, it's a little bit different. But for the graphing calculator like this, you can get it to type in like a template for a fraction, which makes it really easy to type in your numerator and denominator. To do that, you type in alpha, the green button, and then y equals. So alpha y equals, and then just choose the first option, and it gives you like the template for a fraction. So our numerator is 4,000, that's A. We want to divide that by 1 plus RT, so 1 plus 0.05, whoops, 0.05 times T. I'm going to go ahead and type it in as 6/12, but it's really the same thing as just 0.5. All right, and then we hit enter. And this tells me that in 4 months, if I invest exactly this amount, I'll have my $4,000 in 4 months. But remember, we always round up. Okay, so this tells me I would need $3,902.44. Okay, so remember, round up 2 decimal places. The second decimal place, what's in the hundreds place is a 3. To the right of it is a 9. It already tells me to round up, so we're good. We're going to round up to 44 cents. Okay, now let's go back to the worksheet. So we need to invest $3,902.44. Now, just for fun, let's plug this into the future value formula and just make sure we're going to have our 4,006 months. So remember, future value is P, which is now $3,902.44, times 1 plus R, which is 0.05, times T, which is 6 over 12, really just a half. Okay, let's go back to the calculator. All right, so remember, we're going to make sure that we really do have $4,000 in 6 months. So we take A, which is $3,902.44. We multiply it by 1 plus R, which is 0.05, times T, which is 6/12, or just a half. And we hit enter. And there you have it. We'll have a teeny tiny fraction of a cent more than $4,000, but we have at least reached our goal. Okay, now just for fun, let's see what would have happened if we had rounded down here, which mathematically we were told to round up, so we're fine. But like, what if we had just typed in 43 cents instead of 44 cents? All right, you see here, we're a fraction of a cent less than our goal. Okay, so that's why the rounding really is going to matter here. Now, again, this one told us to round up, so we rounded up anyway. But just in case you didn't understand, here we're a fraction of a cent over our goal. Here we're a fraction of a cent under our goal, and we need to at least meet our goal of 4,000 or beyond. Okay, let's look at the next example. So example for part B, how much should you put in an investment paying a simple interest rate of 2.75% if you need 10,000 in 6 years? Okay, so A is 10,000. R is 2.75%, but for us it's going to be 0.0275. And T is 6 years this time. So we're going to type in a regular old 6. P, we don't know. That's what we're looking for. So P equals A, which is 10,000, divided by 1 plus R, 0.0275, times T, which is 6. Let's go to the calculator. Okay. So alpha, Y equals, we'll type in that fraction template, and we're just going to choose the first option. So I want 10,000 for A. I'm going to divide it by 1 plus R, which is 0.0275, times T, which is 6 years, so 6. Hit enter. And in this case, we would round down mathematically, but remember, we're calculating P, so we're going to round up no matter what. So we need to have today $8,583.70. Even though mathematically we would round down, with P, we always round up. So we're going to go ahead and make this a 70 cents. So 85, 83, 70. All right, so we would need $8,583.70. Okay, now for fun, let's make sure we would meet our goal. Okay, so we're going to calculate A using this value right here for P. So 85, 83, 70 times 1 plus R, which is 0.0275, times T, which is 6. Let's go back to the calculator. All right, so if we look at the future value formula, we get 85, 83, 70 times 1 plus R, which is 0.0275, times T, which is 6 years, and hit enter. And you can see here we're 1 cent and a teeny tiny bit above our goal, but it's okay to be above our goal. We just cannot be under our goal. So let's see what would happen if we had mathematically rounded down. Okay. So if we had rounded mathematically, we would have gotten $8,583.69. And so if we take that same formula but type in 69 cents instead of 70, you can see here we haven't quite met our goal. We're a fraction of a cent away, which again, for us, a fraction of a cent doesn't really matter. But according to the laws of math, we have not officially met our goal. So that is why we have to always round up. It's better to be a teeny tiny bit above your goal than to be a teeny, even a teenier tiny bit below the goal. Okay, so this is exactly why we round up. With $8,583.70, we meet our goal. With $8,583.69, I think I said that wrong. With $8,583.70, we meet our goal. With $8,583.69, we do not meet our goal. This is why we have to round up. Okay, so always make sure you round up, and only with P. So make sure you round up with P. So there you have it. We have calculated, let's see if it'll scroll. There we go. Well, is it going to scroll? We have calculated just plain old interest, simple interest. We have calculated future value with interest. We have calculated R with future value with interest. And then we have calculated P. And remember, with P, we round up. Okay, so that's it for simple interest. In the next section, we'll talk about compound interest, which is a different critter entirely. Okay.